Grab your cocktail and get ready for this episode of the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast. Welcome to the Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian, and I've got our first Oklahoman. Well, we'll determine later if he's a true Oklahoman or not. On the podcast, Jacob, welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Brother Brian.
All right, so we're going to get in and talk about how new of a Mason you are. So, but before we do that, as we do on every episode, we like to know as much about the man as we do the Mason. So, Jacob, push all Masonry to side. Tell our listeners who you are.
So I'm pretty much your average run-of-the-mill white, red-blooded American, and I come from a little town in eastern Oklahoma originally. Well, I was born in St. Louis, but mom's from eastern Oklahoma, dad's from western Oklahoma, so I grew up on the eastern side of the state where it's a lot more pretty. And graduated high school there, tried my hand in the Army, and found out that I had a connective tissue disease that you can't be in the military with. So came home from there, went to college. Uh, Relationship ended, and college ended with it.
Yep.
So then I just focused on working and trying to get experience, and really found that I enjoyed the restaurant industry, the fast pace, the heat, the sweat, the salt, the people. I love it. And so I worked in a kitchen for many years up until I met my now wife. And I was living in Bartlesville when we met. We had moved to Branson shortly after that, and I got some really good skills working at some of the large resorts up there in Branson. And then now we've been together for 8 years. And so I'm a family man, also a Mason, and I now am a restaurant manager at one of the best pizza chains in Oklahoma. And we have now branched into Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. And so I am a restaurant manager for Hideaway Pizza, and I am also a corporate trainer, and I am the training coordinator for our store. So pretty average guy. I love the
Busy,
food business.
busy though.
Busy for sure. But somehow or another, I managed to pull it all together and keep it in one glued bundle, and it doesn't fall apart.
Let me tell you, restaurant guys, you're wired different. Yeah, I mean, it's just a different, it's just, I'm a pretty fast paced, high energy guy, but that restaurant, it's fast paced, high energy, and extreme organization. And not to
Hmm.
be sensitive because I've seen in the what they call the back of the house, I've seen the back of the house, and holy hell, it gets crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And tempers flare and emotions are high. And, in a pizza place, I'd say 80% of my staff is under the age of 25. So
Yep.
that comes with a whole extra
Yep.
host of things you have to deal with.
Yep.
And I'd like to think that I'm a good manager and that I'm good with people. They let me keep my job. So I got to be doing something right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So let's put all that chaos to the side. That's a lot of everything going on. So walk us through your Masonic journey, when you joined, why you joined, and where you're at today.
So growing up, I always had an inkling that my grandpa was a Mason, but I never asked him. I just kind of would see the square and compass here and there. And I'd always been interested in it, but I'd never actually joined. I remember it must have been 10, 12 years ago now. I saw some Masons at a park, and I picked up a petition, and it never went further than that. But when we moved here to Enid, I saw a brother who I won't name, but if he sees this, he'll know it was him. He was wearing a Masonic stocking cap that had the square and compass, and I went over there and visited with him and asked him about it. And he did his due diligence to stay quiet. And his dad is also a Mason, and it got me interested. So I looked for the local lodge, and I went down there in person, not knowing a single Mason, just seeing those two brothers in public. I went down there 4 times trying to join the lodge, but nobody was ever there. And I just assumed that somebody would be there. And then the fourth or fifth time, I finally saw some cars there, and I just went and I knocked on the front door.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, what is Masonry? What are Masons? How do I join?" And for 3 meetings, I sat and outside of the lodge. In my lodge, we have a decent sized dining room
Yeah.
with some long tables. And I'd sit out there with a brother and we visited and we traded life stories. And I petitioned the lodge and took my entered apprentice degree July 23rd of 2023.
Nice.
After that, I was raised August 30th of the same year. No, no, no. I was passed fellowcraft on August 30th. I was raised October 23rd, and then I was proficient in my master's on December 7th of 2023.
Nice.
In January, I was appointed junior deacon. I got my 32nd degree on April 7th in 2024. That was probably the most transformative experience that I've ever had
Did
the
you do it in
chance to be a
Guthrie?
part. I sure did.
Yeah. That
Got
building's
the
amazing.
Oh, it's beautiful down there. And if you know where to go, there's some parts where you can just feel it. There's an energy that flows through that temple that it is amazing down there what they do. And then this past November, I actually received the Grandmaster's Esoteric Award from
Nice.
Grandmaster John Carter for getting my C certificate within the first year of being raised a Master Mason.
So what's the C certificate entail? Questions and answers of all degrees?
Yep,
Okay. Yeah,
pretty
it's
much.
it
Yep.
that's a B card in Kansas, so we
Oh,
always like to know what the differences are and what we
yeah,
call them.
in Oklahoma, the C is the questions and answers,
Mhm.
and the B in Oklahoma, I believe, is everything for all the degrees.
Opening and
I don't
closing in
know,
all positions.
opening, closing, and
Yep.
whatnot. A brother might have to correct me on that because I could be wrong. Again,
Okay.
I'm still pretty new to this.
Yeah, fair.
An A certificate is everything in the cipher book, all the trimmings, everything from front to back.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been
Ours
blessed
goes
to keep.
B, A, Masters, and then Unlimited. B, A. Maybe it's BA and Unlimited. Shit. I mean, now I don't know. I should know this. I've been in a lot longer than 2 years.
Yeah.
So
And so now I'm actually helping out in the Scottish Rite with some of the degrees.
that's great.
My lodge actually puts on the 28th degree down in Guthrie.
Yep.
So I have a small part in that degree. And I have also been asked by a brother to help out in the ninth, 10th, and 11th degrees as one of the ruffians.
Nice. Nice. Well, congrats on getting in and just letting them pop the door open and you kick it in and you just take over. I love it. So let me go back. So I'm not talking to you. I'm gonna talk to our other listeners. If you were paying attention, he talked to somebody one time, got a petition, it went away. Then he goes to a lodge 4 different times, nothing. I don't know how many people are that persistent, right? I mean, that we keep giving these chances. But thank goodness for your lodge. And is this Garfield Lodge?
Yes, Garfield Lodge number 501.
All right. So Garfield Lodge number 501. Good on you. You finally snatched them up. But then instead of just saying, oh, well, whatever you do, you got them coming back to meetings, but you kept somebody outside with them to really qualify them and find out if masonry's. I tell everyone this when you're looking to join masonry, you should be interviewing the lodge as much as they're interviewing you because not every lodge is right for you. And I'll say it all day. How many lodges are in Enid?
Two, but we meet in, well, technically three if you count the Prince Hall Lodge, but they've
Yep.
been dark for some years now.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we have two lodges here in Enid, Garfield 501 and Enid Lodge 80. We meet in the same lodge building,
Nice.
just different days.
Yeah, just different days. So, and the Enid's what, 80,000 people?
Top 55.
About 55. So that's,
Yeah.
that's about the right number there. So, makes sense. But yeah, good on your lodge for, taking you through the process but man, if you weren't persistent and really wanted it, we'd have lost another one because there appears to be that we missed some opportunities. So this segues to this. Why do you think younger men aren't joining other than we damn can't answer the call or follow up?
So I think that social media plays a large part in that
Hmm.
because everybody has their face in their phone
Yep.
constantly. And, in my lodge, I am the youngest Mason.
Yep.
By at least, we just raised a brother at the end of January. I am younger than him by at least 10 years. And if he wasn't in the lodge, I would be the youngest Mason by at least 15 years,
Yep.
the youngest. But I'd say average in my lodge, most of the guys are, but in their 50s to 70s. And
Yeah.
our secretary, I believe he's 91,
Wow.
but he's sharp as a tack. That
Yeah.
that brother is a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, those
Um,
secretaries, I got to tell you, once they get there, that you never want them out if they're doing a good job, and good on them, because I want nothing to do with that position.
yeah, I don't know what that entails yet. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But I think social media is where we're missing a lot of opportunities with men my age and younger.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I think having a larger presence and more interesting content could help bring men into masonry.
Yeah.
Um, at least my age,
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean,
because
especially podcast. I mean, your
yeah,
generation, our podcast, you just drink that stuff up.
absolutely. I've been watching yours for a while now,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I
I love
just,
the podcast thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of great ones out there. I mean, there's so many different lanes. We all do something different, and I agree with you. I think we're getting better, but I
Yeah,
think we're still 20 years behind when it comes to social media as far as content. And but I agree. We just need to be able to get our message out. And if we're not going to recruit, that's fine, but we can be posting what we're doing. I think California Freemasons, they're one of the best out there. Their social media channels are hot. They've got, shorts and reels and just stuff that keeps you in the
hmm,
face. And it really has the whole makeup of the fraternity. It's got 21-year-old guys all the way up to 121-year-old guys that are on there. And it's just, if you look at it, you can see your face somewhere on there, right? The collective
yeah.
you. So, which is awesome. Um, so you're winning as junior deacon. If you
Senior
progress
deacon
to
now.
senior deacon now, so as you progress to the chairs, one day, you have aspirations. I'm sure that you'll be master of the lodge.
Hmm?
So, assume you're master of the lodge this year. What's the number one goal you have for your lodge that year? If you can only accomplish one goal, what is that lodge you want? What is that goal that you want your lodge to achieve that year?
To be in the Cherokee Strip Parade here in Enid.
Oh,
That
that's
would be
simple.
my for Garfield Lodge 501. Just
Yeah.
that one thing, like that would be a reasonable thing that I could get done.
Yeah.
That wouldn't affect any bylaws. Would to be have at least 20 to 30 of us all in the parade.
Setting
I
on a
think that
float.
would be good. Yeah, sitting on a float, throwing out candy, kissing
Dude, make
babies,
that
shaking
happen.
hands.
That's a
You know,
no-brainer, right?
Yeah, well, again, though, you get like I said earlier, I'm the youngest Mason in my lodge. These brothers, there's a good chunk of them, at least the guys who do come to lodge, who are 70, 80 years old,
Well, you're
you
not
know?
having them walk or ride horseback. They can sit on a float and wave their hand, right?
Right?
Oh man,
But
see, and that's for the exposure, basically, right? To put your faces
yeah,
back out in the community.
absolutely.
Pretty
But if
simple.
there was something that I could do that wasn't getting the lodge involved itself, but changing something in the lodge, I would like to see a chamber of reflection in the lodge.
Yeah. Yep.
That is something that I have not had the opportunity to do. I didn't join a traditional observance lodge, and I applaud traditional observance lodges because I do feel like men like me who do appreciate the esoteric side of masonry uh, very much would appreciate the traditional observance lodges, and that they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be happening.
Would it
Uh,
violate the bylaws in Oklahoma? I don't know the bylaws of Oklahoma. I struggle just to keep up in our jurisdiction. But with the bylaws of Oklahoma, is it not allowed to have a chamber of reflection?
I I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I think that you can have a chamber of reflection.
Yeah.
Uh, in Oklahoma, I think though it is limited to York Rite, I believe, has it.
Yeah.
and the traditional observance lodges has it. Just your regular blue lodge, they don't really do that, or at least my lodge didn't.
Well,
That's
not
not
doing it
speaking
and it
for
being
others.
against the bylaws are two different things, right? It'd take
Yeah,
nothing to frame up a little 4x4 room with a door
right,
on it and stick a small table and a chair and the other things that go in there.
right. See,
Yeah.
and I've considered trying. I would like to see that at my
Yeah,
lodge.
that'd be a pretty easy question to ask your grand secretary. Could we do it? And then if you, bec- anytime you present something new for the lodges, you get a
Hmm.
lot of what we call the old timers, and I'm in the old timers sometimes that we sit back and I don't know. But if you do your legwork up front and say, I've already talked to the grand secretary, this is good, this is good, I'd like to do this. The budget to frame this up, I think it'll be $200, and I'd love to have the experience jump on board with me.
Right.
Yeah, I think that there's some pretty big benefit. I think, yeah, to me, those two things are very achievable.
Yeah.
Very achievable. It's not like you're asking for your membership to quadruple,
Right.
right? Do you guys have, does your lodge have an active social media?
I actually run our social media page. I was chosen by the lodge to take over the social media page last year
Okay,
in the summer. And since taking over our social media page, now I I am not as persistent as I probably should be, although I have been getting better.
sure.
I have the reach of the social media page year over year has increased over 4,000%,
Yeah,
and the interaction has increased over 10,000% year
little
over year
things.
from when I took it over to now.
I love it. Well, and the great thing with your social media, whether you're using Insta or Facebook, you can schedule posts in advance.
Yeah.
You can use AI to create your posting schedule and even create the content. Um,
Not saying I do it, but it helps.
yeah. Hey,
The AI, that
why
stuff
wouldn't
is
we
so useful.
leverage technology, right? We should be leveraging all the tools that are available.
Yeah. That those AI chatbots, those are really helpful. And sometimes though you have to be careful, especially if you ask it to like generate an image.
Yeah.
You'll get some wild,
Well, the faces
faces
aren't quite there
contorted.
yet. Yeah. Yeah. There's some good ones out there. Everyone, kind of goes to chat to the Ziploc, right? But Gemini's good, but you've got a lot of stuff. You've got Claude and Plausible, and there's all
Hmm.
these other things out there. But I think that the general message on this part is, guys, leverage AI. You don't have to be creative. You just need to know how to write a prompt.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple, and you can actually, once you get your ideas, you can say create a schedule, and they'll create the schedule. And I mean,
I
it
actually have
really
one
has,
that I got from ChatGPT a
yeah,
couple days ago that I've been
yeah,
trying to follow.
yeah. Well, and
And it
again,
helps.
but you're leveraging the tools that are available, and good on you because you're not seeing it as an obstacle,
Yeah.
right? So
But I
let's,
kind of grew up in the technology area too, so I'm used to it.
okay, but tell me about that.
Well, I mean, I'm 32,
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah, yeah. So
I
you grew
watched
up with it in
everything,
your hand.
but not quite, but I watched everything grow, so
Yeah.
I got to learn it over the years. So it's not foreign to me to try and use that stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, it's well, and again, it sounds like you're the right person, but the next thing is obviously ought to be training your replacement, right? And just kind of get folks other folks involved in that as well. And I mean,
Yeah.
you could create a movement for sure. So let's kind of go to what we call kind of a little bit of a what if question, but if there was such a thing as a magic wand for masonry and you were able to swipe that and boom, tap it one time and it could do one thing, and it could be, I mean, it's a magic wand, it's not real, right? But if you had
Right.
this magic wand, what one thing would you want it to do for Oklahoma masonry or just masonry in general?
I would like to see that the Scottish Rite degrees were available to be given all 29 degrees with a singular candidate. Like I was the candidate for the 31st degree, one of four, and it was the most transformative experience I've ever had, especially since I was actually truthful up on that stage. I
Right.
can only imagine how much more impactful that would be if a brother were to go through all 29 Scottish Rite degrees as the candidate in each degree.
I don't know that they've ever done that, right? I mean, because the reunion classes back in the day were several hundred, several
Massive.
hundred. Yeah, and I think a lot gets lost when you're not that singular candidate. I mean,
Hmm.
I agree with you. I that magic wand would be great, but time, I don't know how they would could do it.
Why it's a
And just to
magic
get
wand.
the horsepower to do it to come and help.
Hmm.
I mean, you'd be busy
Because
365 days a year.
I think just to do the degrees in the springtime in Guthrie, where we do all 29,
Yeah.
um, I think that takes close to 1,000 brothers to do that for a class.
Wow. No kidding.
Well, you have makeup, lighting,
Oh yeah.
sound, the degree teams,
Backdrops
uh,
moving. Oh yeah.
and
Stage
then
hands. Ugh.
and then you've got guys who are uh, Guthrie has an inn, so whenever you go through the first time for your Scottish Rite degrees in Guthrie, you have the option to stay in the old rooms where the senators and the governors would stay back in the day
Nice.
for free. That's included with your your
Initiation
dues,
fees or what?
your
I had no
initiation fee.
idea. So
Yeah,
so you can go through the classes and have a place to stay, so there's not any extra capital outlay.
yeah. And if you want to come down and visit Guthrie for a reunion, the rooms that they have in the inn, it's like being transported back to the 1920s.
Oh, really?
And they're only $10 for, I believe it's either $10 a night or $10 for the weekend.
That is silly. I mean, they should still be charging 50 at least for, I mean, do something, man. They got to pay,
Right.
they got to keep the lights on.
Yeah. But, you think about it. You've got all the brothers who are running the inn. You've got the brothers in the kitchen. You've got the brothers down at the gift shop. It
Yeah.
takes close to 1,000 brothers to put that weekend on.
That is crazy. That is crazy. So, before we get to what we call the most important question of the podcast, what message do you want to leave? You've got somebody that's 32 years old comes and knocks on your lodge door today and says, "Man, I'm interested in masonry. What's in it for me?" Which I don't think is an unfair question because we're asking for their precious commodity of time. We need to be able to
Right.
articulate. What would you tell me if if I was 20 years younger and I'm knocking on the door? Why should I join?
Because if you truly do the work and investigate the degrees that Masonry offers, there is esoteric knowledge to be found that, if you really wanted to and you put the time in, you could, I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet.
Sure it
I'm
is.
sure with a deep enough Google search, you could read everything.
Or just go
But
to the Library of Congress. It's
yeah,
all written out.
yeah. But the knowledge contained within Masonry, if you actually study it and apply it to your life, it will change you. It will. And it has changed me and it's still changing me to this day because I'm nowhere near a perfect man or a perfect Mason.
You're still chipping away at
No.
the ashlar.
Yes, absolutely. I think I may have squared off one corner, you know,
Yeah.
the rest of it's still rough. And I'm a 32nd degree. And there's no rank. We're all Masons.
Yeah.
But if you apply the principles from the degrees truthfully and honestly, it will make you a better man because you have to take an honest look at yourself and your life and the way you act and the way you view people in reality, and it will change you.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. All right. So we're going to go to the most important question of the podcast, Dancing Girl, Dancing Girl. So on the screen, my friend, you're going to see four things. One of these must go forever, and I know what can't go. That's super easy. So you've got tacos, whether steak, chicken, beef, pizza, any crust, any toppings, wings, dry, wet, whatever you want, and a burger any way you want it with all the fixings. Jacob, we all know pizza's not going. So we're going to, of these three, which one goes forever? Jacob, it was never invented. Nobody could ever enjoy the pleasure of one of these items.
Yeah, well, if pizza was gone, I'd be out of a job. So I'm
There,
gonna
yep.
have to go. I see a lot of flats in that wing photo, and I'm not a fan of flats. I like the drums, so I'm gonna have to go with wings.
Wings are gone. They're out. They've never existed. Chicken's still around, but they would just never serve wings. They would just be a bunch of chicken breasts running around. Fair?
Yeah, I have to do away with the wings.
Jacob, being our first Okie on the podcast, uh, one, very refreshing. Two, your youth and your energy and the way you're getting in there and just literally kicking the damn door down and taking control. I love it. I'd love to see 1,000 more 32-year-old Jacobs kicking in the door and paving the way because, when you put in the work, contrary to popular belief, the old guard will be happy to help you out and guide you and not be doing this the whole time. And I think you're strong enough to kind of kick through that when you run into those obstacles as well. So, Jacob, I appreciate you coming on the Old Fashioned Masonic podcast, my friend. Cheers.